This is Force on Force, a bracket-style tournament pitting the branches of our military head-to-head on the water. The site is Lake Fork in northeast Texas. The commander for this operation is Major Cody Robertson. Each matchup begins in the top, the Tactical Operations Center, set up lakeside, where Major Robertson delivers the rules of engagement for the day.
Yes! Yes! This is what we come to Lake Fork for. Air Force! You lose, Air Force! Yes! Yeah! 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 That's what I'm talking about! Yeah!
Are we having fun yet? I'm having fun. Are you having fun?
This is Force on Force Special Edition. Each episode of Force on Force brings a unique look at the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marine bass anglers. Today we feature the best of Season 3. Highlights and lowlights of the toughest season yet of Force on Force.
I like big bass and I cannot lie.
This year's bracket-style tournament took place on legendary Lake Fork in northeast Texas. The timing of this event fell right on top of the lake turnover, which is the time of the year when water temperatures are changing and fish take several days off of their normal feeding habits.
Smell that? It smells like fish. Yep.
Combine that with Lake Fork's slot limit, no keepers between 16 and 24 inches, and you've got a challenge fit for military men.
I bet you the Navy's hands don't smell like that.
16 anglers rose to the challenge, representing 4 branches of service. Each faced the tough conditions and lived by the mantra, adapt and overcome.
Might have to back off and throw a spoon.
Long before the battles begin on the water, the psychological warfare is well underway.
See you tomorrow.
You know what they say Army stands for, right?
No.
Air Force rejected me yesterday.
Oh, did they?
Come on, Jesse.
I can't believe y'all even showed up. It's a good thing you got a dog. It's the best looking thing in your boat.
That thing can catch more fish than you can catch.
If you can get in the head of your opponent, the battle can be short.
Oh, look who it is. The Air Force.
But if your opponent has an impenetrable head, well, perhaps he claims early advantage.
These Marines are gonna start throwing rocks. Gotta protect my cranium, brother.
Is that to keep Burns' brain in, or in case he falls out of the truck?
Well, he heard Marines throw rocks, so he's protecting his cranium.
He needs to be careful. He's gonna break them old bones.
Right on.
Let's go, First Sergeant.
Yeah, they say.
Fish handshake.
All right, gentlemen, bring it in.
Each mission begins and ends in the TOC with the commanding officer, Major Cody Robertson.
Morning, gentlemen. Hoorah! All right, welcome
He's tough,
to
demanding,
Season 3
and expects perfection.
semifinals of Force on Force. Congratulations, Air Force Banglers.
Nice.
Force Banglers.
Throughout the course of this program, you'll get to meet the anglers of this, the 3rd season of Force on Force. You'll see the fish and relive the championship run, but you'll also see a side of our servicemen which will help you appreciate the great efforts and sacrifice undertaken by the home of the brave, which makes us the land of the free. Here's a quick stat to back that up. This year's Force on Force team has a combined 185 years served in the military, with 47 deployments.
I just have my dog tag, and I keep it on my truck keys, and keep it with me everywhere I go. It always reminds me of my time in service. It reminds me of those who are still serving, and you know, that we are still at war, and we have people who are constantly, you know, losing, you know, limbs, being injured, and you know, they are protecting our freedoms and our country, our Constitution, and always sacrificing so that we can do what we do as a whole. But you know, even for us to all be in this room, you know, making this TV show, this series, you know, there are people getting shot at right now as we sit here. nice and comfy. Everywhere I go, it's always a reminder of, my little portion, but everybody as a whole coming together, all 4 branches, men and women, the brothers and sisters who have all served and are serving and protecting.
Force on Force is brought to you by All Seasons Feeders, by Ardent, by Bass Angler Magazine, and by Oakley.
When I was stationed in Yuma, Arizona, there was a Marine that I was with named Sergeant Fry. Sergeant Fry was he was my NCO. I was Lance Corporal, and he pushed me to go to the gym, lift weights, pushed me on runs when I was in there. Well, it come down to it, he wanted to lateral move into another MOS, and he picked EOD, explosive ordnance disposal. He got sent to Iraq, and then he got killed over there. And with that, that just went to go, shortly after that, went to go help his wife out and everything else, and his wife gave me this pin.
The men of Force on Force bring much more than a love of fishing to this unique program. There is a bond of brotherhood forged in adversity, which makes what happens on the water a grateful recognition of the freedoms others are protecting for all of us.
I brought it, buddy. I brought my A game right beside me.
Now, lest you think it's all serious on the water, here's a brief demonstration of, shall we call it, military precision.
Look at that bird nest.
I didn't see it like you was gonna do something like that.
You want your hat back?
Yeah. See, that's what happens when you don't pay attention when you're casting. You don't look behind you.
Don't stand right there. There's your hat.
Well, whose fault was that?
His.
It's him for not standing right up against me. He's standing too far back. He knows better.
It ain't the first time I ain't been hooked. See, now you can make the blooper reel now.
I'm sorry. I get you good? Let's see. Oh, it's just a little one. You're good.
Can I get my hat back before it drowns? That'd be number 2 today.
I got it. Man. That's rough. All right. Yeah, let's get my crankbait in there. What happened? Straighten those hooks out on his head.
I bite hard, baby.
That's marine skin right there.
It makes it a lot cooler with that wet hat.
By the way, did you notice that we didn't even have to use the bathroom while we were out here with you the whole time? Do you know why that is? Because we are disciplined, both physically and mentally. We can turn that off. The Marine Corps were back there squatting off the back of their boat.
And our production crew was not without a blooper, and then living the adage of adapt and overcome. Notice the drops gathering on this lens. Have you ever wondered what water and electronics look like when they get together? Well, this is what it looks like. Now, we ran another camera out to our team, and we were back in business and dry. Speaking of bloopers, how about a brush with the law? Remember this scene from episode 1? Robert Maddox and David Burns conducting a top-secret covert op to obtain a little extra Strike King hardware for the next day's battle. While David Burns was inside the angler's pro shop purchasing the prized lure, his fishing buddy was still sitting in the bushes, and apparently someone noticed.
I need a little help here.
Emory, Texas' finest saw something fishy and quickly apprehended Robert Maddox, who was pleading his case with the police while we were inside with David Burns. Maddox was having moderate success until we quickly assured the law enforcement that this was all for a TV show, and no, it wasn't cops. We had a good laugh and made some new friends. But no one was more grateful to see us come out of that store than Robert Maddox. This is why you'll see him as a Force on Force champion and not front and side view in a post office. When Force on Force continues, we bring you the biggest and smallest fish of the tournament. both from the same angler.
Yeah! Yeah! Hell yeah! Yeah! That's what I'm talking about! Yeah! Yeah!
Force on Force is brought to you by BioBore Fuel Additives, by Dermatone, by Bassminder, by Valley Fashions, and by FantasyBass.com, the easiest fantasy fishing to win. Register, play, win.
I told the recruiter, I was like, I'll do it if I can get, a specific MOS. And he said, yes. So next thing you know, I went back and I talked to my dad about it, and he goes, you're a stupid son of a gun if you do that. And I said, oh, he goes, you won't make it. And I said, I'll prove you wrong. So I went and I joined, and when I walked across the parade deck with my, in dress blue deltas, and my dad was sitting there, I seen my dad cry 3 or 4 times in my life, and that was one of them. And that was the proudest I've ever seen my dad of me.
My father had a P38, which most people don't know what a P38 is. And I used to play with it as a kid. But when I went through basic training, my father gave me his P38, and I carried it on my keychain all through my military career. So this is what a P38 is. It's an old MRE. Well, they didn't call them MRE, C rations back then. And it's a can opener, screwdriver, kind of a multi-tool. And I carried it everywhere. So, and it was pretty nice that my dad gave it to me when I graduated basic training, because he knew I always played with it, opened up cans and stuff like that. He just gave me his, and he had it through his military career.
When I quit getting amped up like that, when my hands stopped shaking like that, I'm selling all my fishing gear.
This is Force on Force Special Edition. We're looking back at the high and low lights of this 3rd season of Force on Force.
You got one? Yeah, you got one.
Lake Fork is known nationwide as one of the best big fish lakes. But like any other, the lake can have its moods. Such was the case for this tournament. The fall turnover fell right on top of each of these matchups, forcing the anglers to downgrade their expectations as they fought for every small fish, bringing each precious ounce to the scale. The teams were not able to count any fish caught inside of Lake Fork's slot limit of 16 to 24 inches.
You'll be close.
This otherwise nice fish of just over 4 3/4 pounds did not count, which is potentially heartbreaking when some of these matchups were decided by a few ounces.
There's one right there.
Yeah, there is.
Fish on.
The only fish over the slot limit came from the Marine Bass Angler team of Matt Rivera and Scott Deaton. This was one of the true highlights of the tournament.
Oh God, what was that? My rod broke. Oh my God, my rod broke. Oh, please, 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 please. Now look, these fish over here fight. Goodness gracious, come on. Whoa, whoa.
They're schooling.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hang on, he's coming up. Get ready. Get ready. Oh, get ready. Yeah! 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 That's what I'm talking about! Yeah! That's over. Yeah. Just double check.
Oh, yeah.
He's way over. 815. 815. Look at that, huh? When I quit getting amped up like that, when my hands stopped shaking like that, I'm selling all my fishing gear.
Hey guys, check that out. See that hook? How it bent? I mean, that's just the size and power of those fish, you know? He had them hooked good. He had several hooks in there, but you can just see that hook, you know, normal bend. He bent that thing out on that fish. That's just the power that they have. You saw him driving. Fish is trying to go in the woods, you know, they're big, they're smart.
Y'all catching any fish? Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that, dude. Look, we just put an over in the boat. We'll see you at the ramp. Thanks, man.
But lest anyone get too confident, it wasn't more than 20 minutes later that Deaton hooked into another dubious distinction, this time at the other end of the scale spectrum.
We were kind of, oh, fish. Little, itty bitty.
Still counts.
Itty bitty, bitty, bitty.
Still counts, weigh it.
Weigh it?
Yeah, weigh it, but it still counts. You never know. There's no under limit. Hell, they might get lucky and catch 10 pounds. 6 ounces might help.
That is a future Lake Fork hog. Well, that is just a pup. All right, be real delicate here so we don't hurt him. That is .22 with the wind blowing.
Force on Force is brought to you by BioBore Fuel Additives, by Power Pole, the shallow water anchor, by Strike King, and by Skeeter Boats.
I brought a Fenning. This signified the end of my military career. I ETS'd out of Germany. And when I was in the service, a Fenning we carried in our pockets. We always had a Fenning check at our local clubs, because if you didn't have a Fenning, you had to buy a round. This is a German penny. So I've kept this to signify the end of my career. I've kept it clean, I've kept it polished. I don't carry it everywhere I go. However, it's at home, I know where it's at.
This is no ordinary fishing group. These men share a history of service for their country that supersedes what takes place on the water. There are 4 nonprofits who benefit the most in this competition: Heroes on the Water, A Soldier's Child Foundation, Veterans Outdoors, and Returning Heroes Home. What's in it for these competitors is the opportunity to help raise awareness and funds for these organizations.
Hey, all right, guys, I need your full attention.
The winning angler team earns the accolades of their peers. This season began with a tribute to the defending champions, Robert Maddox and David Burns, representing the Army Bass Angler Championship from Season 2.
Their trophy.
You that ring that we got you presented to us?
Yes.
Yeah, last night?
You like the Super Bowl ring of fishing?
I think we need to get another one right next year.
I got 2 fingers over here that could use it.
But in spite of the great teamwork Maddox and Burns showcased, they were outfished in the first round by the Marine Bass Angler team of Kyle Tudor and Robert Richards.
Get in the boat, get him in the boat.
To be the champion, you have to beat the champion. Tudor and Richards set a championship tone in the first episode of this season.
Come on, Jesse.
I can't believe y'all even showed up. It's a good thing you got a dog. It's the best looking thing in your boat.
Episode 2 also pitted the Army against the Marines, and once again, the Marines took the advantage. When the Army team lost its trolling motor, not even Jesse the Wonder Dog could overcome the elements to help the father-son team of Rory and Rory Lane. Matt Rivera and Scott Deaton used a big and small strategy to advance. Deaton's 8.15 lunker matched up with the .22 he caught. Though it was the smallest keeper in Force on Force history, it all added up to a big win for the Marines, who beat the Army again.
Let's go Navy.
Let's show these boys how we fish.
Episode 3 will not long be forgotten, though the competitors may wish it would be.
Got him. There he is.
It was Navy against Air Force. When the Navy came back to the talk for the AAR with only 2 fish at a grand total of 6 ounces, who would have thought that would be enough? But the Air Force team of Rodney Thompson and Lyle Denuser managed only 1 3-ounce fish.
All right, we got 6 ounces.
Compared to 2 for the Navy, who sailed into the semifinals on the narrowest of margins.
Wasn't the Air Force wanting that special badge to override the Bronze Star because they were flying them from the United States?
Oh, that hurt.
The last of the preliminary rounds matched the Army against the Air Force. After winning the last 2 Force on Force tournaments, the Army was in danger of being out of the competition after round 1.
Son of a biscuit eater.
But we learned early on that there would be a new branch of service on top this year.
Every dog has his day, and
The Army team blanked as the Air Force brought in 4 keepers.
Happy dance, happy dance, happy dance, happy dance.
Come on.
The semifinals would be exciting. The Navy team that advanced with 2 3-ounce fish went head-to-head against the Marine team, which beat the defending champions. And it was all Marines. 2 more keepers fishing in similar areas advanced past Scott Taylor and Trent Brown, who couldn't catch a keeper on this tough Lake Fork day.
2-1.
So the Marines looked ahead to see who they would face for the championship.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers. Yeah, there we go.
The other semifinal matched the Air Force bass anglers Brian Wooten and Mike Schnupp against the Marine team of Matt Rivera and Scott Deaton. The Air Force got on the board early and often. 3 keepers in the first hour gave the Fly Boys a boost of confidence. So much so that when Brian Wooten lost this fish late in the day, it didn't matter.
And he went out of the net.
It was another shutout as the Air Force caught 3 keepers to 0. The only thing that went wrong was when Mike Schnupp had a penalty for a uniform violation for losing his hat during the tournament. Push-ups, very happily enforced by his Marine opponents.
All the way down. Let's go. You don't stick. Get on the ground. You're first. Are you kidding me right now? What is that? That is not fair. You gotta be kidding me.
This set the stage for the championship. The Marine bass anglers against the Air Force bass anglers. The Air Force duo of Brian Wooten and Mike Schnupp were on fish and even hooked fish, but 2 missed fish spelled doom early on.
Ready to go?
While the Marines abandoned a new strategy in a new area rather quickly and rode back to the areas which propelled them out of the prelims and into the semis, familiar waters returned familiar results. Though small, this was about as much of a feast as Lake Fork was prepared to share on this fall turnover day. 2 15-ounce fish were enough.
Bam!
Our Carhartt Force T bracket is complete. The Marines are champions for the first time in Force-on-Force history.
Kyle. Yeah. Where's the big guy? Where's Chuck? Hold that up, baby. All right, we got. Where's the confetti? Where's the confetti? Hoorah!